Кейти — это действительно уникальный человек, и нам помогла в том, чтобы у нас был сегодня такой телемост и на английском, и на русском. Еще одна прекрасная женщина, ее зовут Ольга Берг. Это женщина, которая сделала возможным присутствие Кейти Байрон на русскоязычном пространстве. Она главный фасилитатор метода работы на русскоязычном пространстве. Кто-то из вас уже с ней знаком. Для кого-то сейчас открывается возможность с ней познакомиться. Ольга, я тебя приглашаю к нам. Это прекрасная Ольга Берг, которая к нам присоединяется из Лондона. Поэтому у нас сегодня такой телемост: Бали, Лондон, Лос-Анджелес. Олечка, присоединяйся к нам, пожалуйста. Благодарю, что ты сегодня с нами. Я приглашаю нас вместе представить прекрасную Кейти.
Да, я безумно признательна тебе, Катюша, твоей потрясающей команде, как вы все это быстро организовали. И я знаю, что сейчас настолько какой-то момент сложный, да, в умах людей, и я не представляю себе лучшего человека, чем Кити, который может нам помочь найти контакт. Потому что разобщенность и разделенность – это наша самая большая война. И я знаю, что этот метод, который Кейти прилагает, the work, работа, это просто целительный бальзам. Это вакцина, это то, что спасает жизни на самом деле. Поэтому без лишних предисловий Байрон Кейти, автор, философ, автор потрясающего метода работы, о котором вы можете узнать и применять в своей жизни абсолютно бесплатно. И самый лучший фасилитатор вы сами, да, в этом методе. Она дает нам возможность быть независимыми и живыми. Katie, thank you so much. We just did a very brief introduction, and because many people never heard about the work and they don't know what it is. So we just briefly told them about how incredible this tool is, particularly in a dramatic situation like we have now. And thank you so much for being with us. So Katya and I will exit, but you know, anything you can share, you want to share with all of us, coming from all kinds of different viewpoints about what you see and what we can. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just also want to say thank you on behalf of our team, on behalf of our community. We waited for you and we've been asking Olga, please, if Katie can come and join us. And I'm also switching to English because now we have translator. Eckhart Tolle calls you blessing for our planet and your teaching. And we call you blessing for us now to heal the pain that we have. And thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for this invitation in these interesting times. So the work is a way to identify and question the thoughts that cause all the suffering in the world, all the war in the world. So where do we have the power to actually end the war in our lives? Well, that's why I'm so happy to be with you here today. You know, there's a cause for suffering, and there's no one that hasn't experienced suffering. It's something we can all relate to. And there's a way out of this suffering. And to join me today is to join in a way that I have found that not only works for me, but it works for everyone who is open to inquiry. So let's get really quiet and sit in this. All of us sit in it. Like I'll be working with Tatiana if you're prepared, honey, with your worksheet. And the worksheet is a way of identifying the thoughts that cause all your suffering. So Tatiana has identified the thoughts around her father. She's disappointed and hurt by her father because she shared with her father, her friend's perspective on this war in Ukraine that's going on. And she was sharing with her father this family who is living in the epicenter of the war in Ukraine. So Tatiana, hello, sweetheart. Thank you for your worksheet.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Katie. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's such a privilege to be with you today. So read number 1, what you wrote on your worksheet.
So I wrote that I am hurt and disappointed by my father because I shared with him my friend's perspective, whose family lives in the epicenter of this war that's happening in Ukraine right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he yelled at me and called me stupid, that I don't understand, and that my friend is stupid. And basically that's how it went.
Yeah. So you're sharing with your father your friend's experience as she related it to you.
Yes.
And he yelled at you and called you stupid. Okay, so let's look at the first question in what I call the work.
Mhm.
So right here, right now, he yelled at you and called you stupid. Is it true? Now, all of you go to a place, all of you witnessing this, go to a place where you have had similar circumstance. Similar, so you've experienced something similar. He yelled at you and called you stupid. Did he really yell or did he raise his voice? Did he really call you stupid? So this work takes silence because the ego would exaggerate it at times. You could be right. We're just opening our minds to what is true. He yelled at you and called you stupid.
Well, he was definitely speaking in high tone, which I perceived as yelling.
So this is what you're saying right now is absolutely it. And I'm going to invite you to go into like a meditative state to get really still, because that's what this work is all about. It's about getting still to end the war in ourselves and to listen to your father in that situation. He yelled at you and called you stupid. Now there's only one answer, and it's what's true for you, not even for someone that may have been listening to the phone call, but you. He yelled at you and he called you names and he interrupted.
Yes.
So the answer is either yes or no. It's one syllable.
Yes.
Okay, so continue just to be there now in that situation with your father. Witness, how did you react? Emotionally, what happened? And notice what images of past, future came up in your head when you had the thought he yelled at me and called me stupid.
I got defensive and I wanted to protect myself. And I started speaking back to him in the same manner.
So now we had one person fighting against what you said. Now we have two people fighting for their own reasons. We have war. Mm-hmm. Now people can have war with me. That's their war. But when I am angry at them as well, we have war. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now get really still and we'll look at this fourth question. Listen to your father. Listen to him. He's raising his voice. He's calling you stupid. He's doing all of that. Get really connected and just listen. Who would you be without the thought? Right here, right now, without the thought, he yelled at me and called me stupid. Listen to his words, listen to him getting loud on the phone, be there now. And just listen. Who would you be without your story? The story of your father yelling at you.
Just be a witness of what's happening.
And now get in touch with your father again as you're witnessing, observing him, and get connected. Get connected with your father. Listen to him, how upset he is.
Mm-hmm.
You may even find some compassion there in you.
Yes. Yeah, I can feel that he is also feeling a lot of feelings, and he's upset about the situation.
And notice how you don't have to be angry, nothing, just to let him have that and get connected. You know, anything that it is not peace is, the opposite of peace is fear.
Mm-hmm.
The things you're telling your father upset him, which is like saying he's fearful of the things he's hearing from you. That's your father.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
He yelled at me and called me stupid. Turn it around. How would you turn that around? He yelled at me and called me stupid.
He was confused. Or turn it around towards
Any way you want to turn it around, we just find our own opposites and we just try them on in that situation. What does that turnaround mean to me, that opposite? He yelled at me and called me stupid. I yelled at him and called him stupid.
Mm-hmm. I yelled at him and called him stupid. That doesn't feel good.
And notice how often that has occurred since that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing him as stupid, like he's out of touch, he just doesn't know, he's in denial, all the things, with throwing, but what happened to listening? What happened to compassion on your part as this reoccurs?
Mm-hmm.
And an interesting thing happens here, Tatiana. When you think of that conversation, maybe after this call, maybe as you think of that conversation, all the days of your life, you'll experience a fearful father and experience compassion as it reoccurs to you. Whereas from that time up to now, you've probably seen him as less than, in ways that just really would imply he's stupid and you're wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can be wise without other people experiencing our wisdom or seeing our wisdom.
Mm-hmm. And can I ask you a question?
Yes.
When this happened, I felt pain in my body, like I felt pain in my chest.
Yes.
Like, how do I work with this pain? Do I just feel it, or?
When you were on the call and when you think of him, pain in your chest.
Mm-hmm.
When you really listen and experience compassion, what happened to the pain in your chest?
It goes away, melts.
And your father hasn't changed. You have the privilege of being in touch with your own wisdom, the absence of war.
Mm-hmm.
How can we end the war in Ukraine if we cannot end it with the people we love?
Yes, I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So freedom can only be found, in my experience, can only be found within me. And this is where it matters, because I'm the one with the problem. When I don't see compassionately the people in my world, when they're suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So, sweetheart, he yelled at me and called me stupid. I yelled at me and called me stupid. So try that turnaround on.
I yelled at me and called me stupid.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good.
And how does it match in that situation? The self-talk.
Just feels violent. I wouldn't want to talk to myself in such a way.
Yeah. It could be your father is feeling some guilt around that conversation. Who knows? Like, why did I yell at her? Why did I do that? Searching for another way, and just, you know what we're guilty of, not knowing how.
Yes. Yes.
So I love we're here together learning how. We can't teach it to others, but we can sit in ourselves and we can come out as one human being that can live in the absence of war with themselves, with others, and the world. And that's wise. The ego is not wise. The ego is just fighting for identification. But wisdom doesn't have to search, it's immovable. And when we do this work and we're sitting in these questions, wisdom has opportunity to speak as it meets those questions, and we get still enough to listen to that wisdom inside of us. That is a warless world that meets the questions. Immovable love and caring and understanding.
Beautiful.
So let's look at number 2 on your worksheet. Read number 2.
Okay, I want my dad to speak respectively to me and hear what I got to say without yelling, interrupting, and calling names, even if his perspective is different than mine.
Mm-hmm. So in that situation, be there now. You want your dad to speak respectfully to you.
Yes.
Okay, now we're not talking about someone else's dad. We're talking about your dad.
That's right.
So be there now. Get still. Listen to him. He's fearful. He's yelling. You want him to speak respectively to you. Is it true? Is it even possible? Get still.
Probably not in that scenario.
And that scenario is where we're looking at, because that's where your hurt was.
Mm-hmm.
You want him to speak respectfully to you. And how do you react? Witness, get still, be there now in that situation. How do you react? What happens when you think the thought, I want him to speak to me respectfully? And he's fearful. What you're saying to him is really fearful.
I'm saying you have to be different, right?
And telling him you're reporting about people in Ukraine that are living in the epicenter of war and giving your opinion, which is not his.
Yes, I get it.
It's like turning his world, just flipping it from one experience to an extreme opposite from his daughter.
I understand now how he feels and how he felt that moment.
And in that situation with him, on the phone, you're telling him your friend's experience. You want him to speak respectively to you, the one bringing him this news, these ideas.
Mm-hmm. And I want to clarify that was actually in person. We had face-to-face conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarity. So look at him. You want him, that guy, not your fictitious father, the one in your head that you've wanted probably all your life.
That's right.
But you want him. So be there now. You want him. Close your eyes, look at him. You've told him, you've said what you've said about your friend, and look at his reaction. You want him to speak respectively to you and hear what you have to say without yelling, interrupting, and calling you names. Is it true?
Well, it was true at the moment. And now I see a bigger picture. So there is a possibility that it's not true.
How could he?
Mm-hmm.
And could you? When you consider what you were thinking and believing, notice how you react when you believe the thought. You want your dad to speak respectfully to you and stop yelling and calling you names. Notice now we have war. Two people at war.
That's right.
Mother, daughter and father, daughter and father, father and daughter at war. Wanting peace across the world. And unable to end the war themselves.
I get it.
Now listen to your father, be there now. Who would you be without the thought, I want my dad to speak respectfully to me and hear what I have to say without yelling, interrupting, calling me names. Look at his face. Be there now without the thought, I want him to, without that want. Get connected.
There is compassion without this thought.
Now notice how you don't have to change him. Just be there, listen without your story about him involved. Your wants, your needs. And as you relax, and as you listen, just relax and get connected. with that fearful father.
Yeah, I don't feel that much of an emotional charge anymore. I feel softness and kindness in my heart.
Yeah. Peace is possible. That's what we're learning from you here today as our teacher.
Mhm. Yes.
If you can do it, we can do it. It does not take two people to find peace in your world. It only takes one, you. It doesn't require father or nations or governments. Peace is within you, and you're showing us how to find it, and to live that out. You know, self-realization, until it's lived, it has no power. So let's live that out now. Let's do a living turnaround. I want my dad to speak respectively to me and hear what I have to say without yelling, interrupting, and calling me names, even if his perspective is different. So turn it around and live it as you're doing it. Be there now with him in that situation. And in silence, live these turnarounds and read what you wrote, turned around to yourself. In that situation with my dad, I want me
to speak respectively to me and hear what I got to say without yelling, interrupting, and calling names, even if my perspective is different.
Even if it, either way, yeah, good.
I like that.
Now live another turnaround in that situation. I want me to speak respectively to my dad. Read it that way.
I want me to speak respectively to my dad and hear what he has to say without yelling, interrupting, and calling names.
Calling him names.
Even if his perspective is different. Wow. That's powerful.
Yes, it is. So live the turnaround right here, right now. Close your eyes. Be there now. He can't give you what you want, but you can. And this turnaround, this living turnaround, as you sit in it, this is how you can give you what you want. I want me to speak respectively to him and hear what he has to say without yelling, interrupting, and calling him names, even if his perspective is different.
This feels powerful.
Yeah, it's the end of war.
Yeah, that I have the power and responsibility, that I have all the power inside of me.
Yeah, if peace is your goal, this is the litmus test. And it obviously is your goal. It's something your father cannot give you. It's something governments and leaders can't give us. Even when they're right, they can't give us what you're showing us today.
And peace begins with me.
You know, we all have different worlds. No two people live in the same world. It's the world as we understand it to be, each of us individually. So I have my world, you have your world, he has his world. Everyone has their own world, their own perspective, in other words. So it's not your father's responsibility or world leaders' responsibility or the people we live with responsibility to give us peace. It's our own. And it works well because no one can give that to us but ourselves, which is, again, what you're showing us.
I see it.
So let's look at 3. Read number 3 on the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. For those of you new to the work, it's a worksheet that has 8 questions on it, and you just answer those questions. You identify a time where you were at war with someone, and you just anchor in that situation, like Tatiana sitting with her father at home and sitting together, and then answering the questions on the worksheet 1 through 8. So let's look at number 3. And number 3 is about, it's about advice. So what advice do you have for your father in that situation?
So I wrote that my father should give me an opportunity to speak, seek to understand me, and be open-minded, and be open to maybe I have something valuable to contribute to this conversation.
Yeah. And that sounds reasonable. That sounds very reasonable. However, notice your father should give you opportunity to speak. So be there now. Get in touch with him again, hear his words, look at his face, look at his body language, look how upset he is. He should give you an opportunity to speak. Is it true? And again, we're not talking about someone else's father. We're talking about him. Is it true that he should give you opportunity to speak, considering who you're sitting with and his state of mind?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
You know him. You have tried every way in the world.
Yes.
So let's look at that, how you react, what happens when you believe the thought, he should give me opportunity to speak.
How I react is I try to speak. I want him to hear me.
So you override him, you interrupt him, you argue with him.
Yeah.
Basically, you go to war.
Yeah.
And you're in it to win. And when he doesn't understand, then you pull out even heavier ammunition.
Yeah.
And this is, and some of us, we leave people we love in our life, and we just never see them again. And why? Well, we're justified. So the war, now we've got like we have ununited nations. We have ununited family. We have ununited father and daughter. And you see how you react, all the ammunition you threw, it didn't change him.
No, it made it worse.
Makes it worse.
Makes it worse, 100%.
Yeah. 2 people who love each other just firing at each other.
And it feels even worse after.
Yes, guilt is the ego's. Guilt is food for the ego. It depends on it for existence. Identity. So your father should give you an opportunity to speak. Now listen to your father. Drop that thought. Who would you be without the thought that he should give you opportunity to speak? That he should seek to understand and be open-minded without the thought he should understand that I have something valuable to contribute to this conversation. Who would you be without that? Now listen to your father. Get in touch with him, not the father of your imagination, not the father of the past or future, but your Father as he is.
Yeah, I feel compassion.
Compassion is a word for understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Notice how connected you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I should give my Father an opportunity and read what you wrote in that situation.
Mm-hmm. I should read my father an opportunity to speak, to understand him,
Mm-hmm.
to be open-minded. Maybe he has something valuable to contribute to this conversation. Oh, yes, it's true.
So now listen, it's never too late. Something valuable that he was saying, something valued to contribute to the conversation. To my mind, he's like this great teacher in your life, in your earth school, here to wake you up.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like that in the moment. Then
No.
now that you're reflecting on it from quiet place, I can feel that as truth.
He is pushing you to a kind of freedom that no one else can give you. Just
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm. It's a gift.
Every enemy in my life, Tatiana, is my teacher. We're in Earth School to wake up to a world where there's understanding and compassion, exactly the way you're showing us.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes courage. And you've got that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate that as well. So let's read it turned around. My father should not. In that state of mind, my father should not
give me an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, he's frightened.
Yeah. He should not seek to understand me and be open-minded to what I have to say. Yeah. That's right. In that state of mind, it's not what I would expect from him, right?
How could you? He's a believer. He's locked in the dream.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what horror is running through his mind when he's listening to your words.
Yeah. I can understand him.
So just to get still in it again, live the turnaround. I should give my father opportunity
To speak, to seek to understand him, and be open-minded. Maybe he has something valuable to contribute to this conversation.
Yeah. So now be there now in that time and place and live that turnaround. Listen, give him opportunity to speak, be open-minded, seek to understand. And notice that's what you have that is valuable to contribute to this conversation.
Mhm. Yeah, that feels like a completely different experience.
He's sick with fear. Let's just say he's sick with fear at what he's hearing. And for all you know, he's fearful of what would happen to you.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about that, but yes.
Now let's look at 4. This is about, in that situation with your father, what do you need to be happy?
I need my father to give me space to speak my truth without interruptions and communicate non-violently.
And to communicate non-violently his response.
His response, yes.
Yeah. So close your eyes, be there now. We're not talking about someone else's father. We're talking about yours in that situation. If he gave you those things, would it have made you happy? I need him to give me space to speak my truth without interruptions and communicate non-violently his response. And for him to communicate non-violently, would that really have made you happy in that situation?
Maybe in that situation, not necessarily.
So let's try it on. In that situation, he's angry, he's interrupting, he's calling you names. And if he gave you space to speak your truth and didn't interrupt, would that, when you consider your state of mind, would that have made you happy?
No, I don't feel it wouldn't make me happy. No. In that state of mind, I don't think anything would make me happy.
So notice that. Even when you get what you want, it doesn't make you happy when you consider what you're thinking and believing about your father. Notice you're into winning and losing. You're at war. Even when you get what you want, you don't trust it. You just push.
Yes, I understand. That's not the way.
No. Now turn it around to yourself and see if this is what this is like for you. In that situation with my father, I need me to give me space.
To give me space to speak my truth.
Yeah, so slow it down, living turnaround. I need me to give me space.
To give me space.
Okay, so be there now, give you space. Notice he's yelling, he's interrupting. So now just relax, be there now with him and give you space. And speak your truth without interrupting him. Just see if there's a space and see what that truth is. It could be as simple as, I love you.
That's exactly what I thought about.
Oh, that's so like
You just
you.
read my mind. Yeah, I would say I love you.
Yeah. And communicate non-violently
Mhm.
in response.
Yeah, that's the way.
That's what you need to be happy. And that's good information for you,
Yes.
for you to know yourself that well. This you cannot change. This is what I'm pointing to when I use the term immovable. It is your true nature. And we can say it and we can try, but until we understand the cause of suffering the way that you're teaching us today, we're really lost and at war with ourselves and at war with the world. And notice how innocent we are. We're believers. You were believing the thoughts on this worksheet. That makes you innocent. As we question them, we wake up to another way, the end of war.
Wow.
So, and in Earth School, this is the practice to wake up to another way, because we are in that situation. It's like you're describing all of us when we are believing our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And then we feel the guilt. And then the ego, that's its fuel. So, sweetheart, let's look at 5 on the worksheet. What did you write for 5?
I even feel bad to read it out loud because of what I went through just now.
Well, you have it looks crazy by the time we
It
get
looks
to 5.
crazy. I don't even want to say this out loud.
So in that situation, when I was there, I was believing my father, and read 5.
Is a verbal abuser, self-centered, negative, unconscious, judgmental person who has no manners, no ability to have a conversation. Oh, no.
Yeah. So let's look again and try it on. In that situation, with my father, I am a
Verbal abuser, self-centered.
Okay, so get in touch with it. Verbal abuser. Self-centered.
Just like wanted to escape this, but I gotta go in it.
Well, self-realization, it takes a lot of courage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a verbal abuser. So see, notice, listen to yourself, be there now in that situation with your father. I'm a verbal abuser. He could have been a verbal abuser 1,000 times in that conversation, but if you were a verbal abuser one time, it is too much for you. It's the opposite of peace.
Yeah.
And we can't change it when we are in that mindset. But it's never too late to go back and make it right. To wake up to what we were now, to what we were asleep to then. So in that situation, I'm self-centered.
Mm-hmm.
Notice, no matter what he said or did, you just stuck to
myself.
Yeah.
What I'm feeling, what I want.
He stuck to his fear, you stuck to yours.
Mm-hmm.
In that situation, I am negative. In that situation with my father, I'm negative. Unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
A judgmental person who has no manners and no ability to have that conversation with your father.
Yeah, that's really tough to face.
So yes, tough to face, and self-realization until it's lived it is not the power, it doesn't have the power it deserves. So you can go back to your father, and it's nothing you have to do. It's just like a privilege to be open and vulnerable enough to do it. But you can say something like to your dad, in that conversation we had together, when I was telling you about my friend in the heart of the war in Ukraine, in its epicenter, and you were so upset, I verbally was abusive with you, and I apologize for that. And I was self-centered. It was all about me. I interrupted you.
I judged you. And had no manners.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was negative toward you. I was unconscious. It was all about me.
Yeah.
I was a judgmental person, and I had no manners. And I apologize for that. And no ability to have a conversation. I was so into interrupting you, and I apologize for that.
And I apologize for that.
And then get still and listen to whatever he has to say. And if he says, oh, that's all right, you don't have to jump back with, no, it's not all right, I apologize. Just listen the way that you have learned to listen today. You know, if I had to say, what gift do I have to give the world? I would say 3 words as it comes to me now. Or no, 2 words. I listen. I listen. And anything I'm at war at, I fill in, just like you have done, a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, and I sit in myself the way that you have shown us today.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
And you can tell your father, in my experience, as I look back on it, I love you.
Yeah.
There are your words again.
Yeah, I love you.
And for my part, I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another part of making amends, and it is living these turnarounds with your father all the days of your life. Notice when you interrupt, notice when you're being negative. As soon as you notice, you can just stop and get sane. And you can just feel this burning of, I want to win, he's wrong, and this is an exception this time. And just notice, and then go home and fill in a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet.
Mm-hmm.
Sit with that power in you that you have shown us today.
Okay.
So let's look at number 6. I said there are 8 questions on the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. I apologize for that. I've only been doing this like more than 3 decades now, but there are 6 questions on the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. So number 6.
So number 6, I wrote, I don't ever want him to verbally abuse me.
I'm willing that he verbally abuses me. Turn it around. I'm willing that he
verbally abuses me.
And I look forward that he
verbally abuses me.
Yes, because if you have a problem with it, it's another worksheet. Your father is unfinished business until he can have the kind of behavior that you're describing to us today, and that you understand, and that you are connected and you are not at war. Defense is the first act of war. So that'll give you a little heads up.
And love is the opposite of that.
Yes. Understanding.
Compassion.
Yes.
And
it's not. Okay, so I don't ever want him to verbally abuse me. I'm willing that he does it again. I look forward to him doing it again, because your father is, again, he's in your life to push you to freedom. And that's what the war in Ukraine is about. It's what the war all over the world is about. It's about the us understanding ourselves and what it is to live in the absence of fear. And why is that important? That is where wisdom lives. It's not as though the absence of fear, we're not going to know what to do. It gives space and rise to wisdom, as you have shown us today. Tatiana, thank you for your courage, sweetheart. Thank you for being a teacher.
Yeah, thank you so much for guiding us through this. And so valuable. I feel changed.
It's a practice. It's a practice in stillness. It's a practice in real stillness. And in the mornings, for example, if you just sit and get still and have a pencil and paper close to you and just notice the thoughts that arise and write them down. And each thing you write down could be a whole other worksheet. But this worksheet, sweetheart, it's if you look at this worksheet and sit in it alone, the same worksheet, the more enlightened being that you are, look how much clearer you are now than when you were writing it.
Yes.
So imagine working it again out of that more enlightened mind.
Yes, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
And what I love is that each situation like this is an opportunity to do this. And instead of not wanting this to happen, like, I welcome it.
Yes, it's exciting. It makes life just sparkle, just alive. This let's get some feedback maybe from people who have takeaways that sitting in this work you've done. Let's see what they themselves have become aware of. Is that possible, Katya or Olga?
We actually have a question here. We have many people saying thank you to Tatiana, thank you to you, Katie, but it was very powerful and they actually lived their situations. But I see here like one question what I want to highlight.
Questions, good.
One of the participants asking, but how about personal borders? You know, in Russia, we have this term that you have these borders and you should protect them. So if somebody, you know, really have different opinion and aggressive.
Okay, so let's ask Tatiana, in that situation with your father, did you need border? As you were doing your work, did you need to stand up for yourself? Or as you were looking at yourself in your work today, did you need that kind of protection sitting with your father as you look at it now?
No, I felt like there was space to, it was a different experience. I needed borders before I went through this process, but now that I went through the steps and I've had a different experience, now I feel like there is connection instead. I don't need any boundaries.
It's replaced by it's replaced. I witnessed you replace that kind of protection with understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not asking people or even suggesting that people drop their borders, their defenses. I mean, it'd be crazy for me to do that. We have them until we find something more powerful. And it's the absence of war. Like if someone calls me stupid, like, Byron, Katie, you are stupid, then I feel gifted because they could be right. They could be right. Where is it that I am stupid? And I look at, let's say we were in conversation and someone said, you're stupid. And I get excited and say, show me, tell me, where is it that you see I was stupid? You see how there are no enemies in my world. There are people who grow me. And it's war otherwise. And then I get to defend that I was right. I have borders and I was right. They went past my border and I had a right to speak up. Well, we all have a right to start a war. But they call me stupid, and there is another way. They tell me I'm wrong. That's a good one. Byron, Katie, you're wrong. They could be right before I put up a border and say, how dare you? That was disrespectful. And also, you embarrassed me in front of my friends. And you know, I've got an enemy there. If they say, Byron, Katie, you know, you are this and you are that, that's a friend. And if I feel a burn, you know, like how dare they burn? Or they have no right to think that, say that in front of people, I feel that burn, then I know there's a place in me that has been, where the ego has been challenged. And I get really still and I just want to know. And the people in this world wake me up. I am the most unenlightened person in my world. And this world is here to wake me up. And I'm in. This is Earth School, and I'm in. And I invite the world to inquiry because, you know, the thing I love about it is it doesn't take a teacher. We become our own teacher. And the teachers of this world, like we can share our experience, like how to fill in a judge your neighbor worksheet and how to sit in the work. But these questions, these 4 questions and turnarounds belong to everyone. But there's a huge price to sitting in this practice. It's the loss of ego and the beginning of a kind of freedom that allows us to sit with our Father when he's calling us names and being insulting and unfair and at war with us.
Katie, there was another question. Some feel that there are very heavy, very acute topics that they're very worried about right now, and they would want to have more experience with you. Like, would you support that? Would you be willing to work more and address some?
Well, I don't really understand. I don't really understand. They have, the work is always free. There's on thework.com, and Olga, you've supported translating that into Russian, so that's on thework.com too. And then there's an app that's $1.99 on the App Store, and so people can take the work with them wherever they go. And maybe if you ask is it someone that has a question right now to ask me that?
Well, we can only allow people who were ready to the room. Let's ask them if any of the participants can just let us know in the chat that they want to come in and ask a question to Katie. That would be really fantastic. Yes, can we do that?
And did you have something in mind, Olga, that could help me understand?
Well, they're clarifying that. They're saying that everybody is fearing a nuclear bomb in Ukraine right now. People
okay,
really
so let's look at that. Because I think everyone in the world fears that. Not everyone in the world fears it, but it's a big fear. So all of you just imagine that someone tells you in 5 minutes that they're going to fire nuclear weapons, and that Russia's going to fire one, and the US is going to fire one, and there are other countries that are going to fire them too, but we know those two are going to do it in 5 minutes, and it's on a timer. No one knows where it is, and there's not even a leader can stop it at this point. It's going to happen. Okay, so first notice, is it true? And the whole world agrees, and the whole world's panicked, but I'm asking you, is it true? Can you really know that it's true? That these weapons are going to be fired any minute now? And then notice how you react. Let's say you're sitting at your kitchen table. Notice how you react. What happens when you think the thought, the weapons are going to be fired in any moment? And I'll describe to you what I see. I'm sitting at the kitchen table when I believe the thought, weapons are going to be fired any moment. There's nothing anyone can do about it. In my mind's eye, I see the future. And that future I see is only like 2 or 3 minutes away now. And you have thoughts of the future of they could do it, but you don't know when or where, but you maybe imagine days. Well, I'm at the kitchen table, and now we're sitting in world news. So I see an image of the future 3 minutes away, 2 minutes away. I'm terrified because I see the world being bombed. I see people burned. I see suffering, massive suffering. I see the water is dead. I see the sky is dead. I see all of this in my mind's eye as I sit at the kitchen table. And I look around and I see that everything's okay, but no, in my mind's eye, I see it's all blown up. Okay, how do I react when I think the thought? It's hell. It's hell. It's the end of the world. and I'm terrified, and there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. So the fourth question, who would I be without the thought that this is going to happen like any minute now, really? Who would I be without the thought? And I look around, and I'm sitting here at my desk talking to all of you. So let's say this is a situation. Who would I be without the thought they're going to fire nuclear bomb is going to go off all over the world? Who would I be with the thought right now? I see you on my screen. I see you. And I can see out the windows, there are trees, and I can see a sky and light. And it's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful world. There's so much beauty in this world right here, right now. I see a box of tissues and I don't need them, but it's okay, it's there. You know, there's nothing in this space right here, right now that is not here to serve me. Nothing. I'm in my office, so I see a paper shredder. It's not being used. It's just sitting there in case just there to, the chair I'm sitting on. It's not saying, you're too heavy, get off of me. You didn't even ask if you could sit on me, and you did it anyway. And no, it's just in service. And as I look around the room and I look at you, those of you that I can see, I'm grateful. Now let's say the bomb goes off. I did not miss the last few minutes of this gift of life. Just like with Tatiana, she's the time with her father, you know, it's not too late to be grateful in a whole new way for her father, the teacher in her life. And if her ego takes that space over, she has a way of coming back home to reality. I love this life. I call that a sane mind. Love this life, meaning I'm grateful for this life. I understand it. And if the bomb went off, you know, and killed me, how would I even know I'm dead? If this is life. I love it. So far, so good. And I've been testing this, you know, from a position of agoraphobia and depression that I would never want another person to have to live through, even though some of you are or have. And if I can come out of the nightmare, then if I can do it, you can do it. You know, life is precious, and what we're thinking and believing cost us life. It's life dreamed as opposed to life lived.
Thank you, Katie, so much. We have one more question. If you have a couple more minutes,
Mm-hmm.
she can come in person and ask you. Is that okay?
Yes.
Ольга, включитесь, пожалуйста. Ольга.
Mm-hmm. Hello.
Hello.
Katie. Thank you so much for what you're doing here. I have one question about my negative attitude to our government. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that the facts are, we know that people are dying in this war, and that most of them don't want to take part in it. And most of people in Russia don't want this war. So if you ask me if it's true, I will say yes. So how can I say no? How can I not feel all these emotions?
So if you ask yourself what?
If it's true.
If what is true?
That people are dying, that government sends them there,
Yeah.
And
So people in Ukraine are dying. Is that?
yes, people, Ukrainians are dying and Russians are dying, both.
Yes. And both people are dying in Ukraine. Yes. Let's say that is true in Earth.
That is true.
It is true. Okay. Now notice how you react when you think the thought, people are dying. Both Ukrainians and Russians are dying in Ukraine. Notice how you react.
I feel helpless. I'd like to change that.
Yeah. So you feel helpless. Now there is a cause for that fear that you're experiencing. You see images, and I'm not guessing, when you think the thought there Russians and Ukrainians are dying in Ukraine, you see images of people being shot, and you see bombs, and you see people underground in shelters, and you see people trying to get away on trains, and you see parents with children running, and you see them shot and bombed. You see that in your mind's eye from right here, right now. You see that. And I can see your face from here. I see sadness. I see helplessness. I see frustration and suffering. All those things I just said that you see, I'm seeing in my mind's eye. Now, that is the past and future running on in your head. People dying, people suffering, children dying, running out of water, dehydration, lack of food. You see that in your mind's eye as I was saying it, right? That is past. And then you see future, where it's going to get worse, where it's never going to end. You see that in your mind's eye?
Not that much, because I don't relate to it.
Okay, not that much, but you see it getting worse or getting better in the future.
It can get better.
Okay, so right here, right now, the fourth question, who would you be without the thought that people are
Without the
dying?
thought of people dying in Ukraine, or?
Yes, without the thought people are dying.
Yeah, maybe I could think of the better future for all the parties.
So get still. So are you looking at me on camera?
Mhm.
Okay, there's no bomb dropping here, just right here, right now. And notice the chair that's holding you. And you see, is there a window where you are?
Yeah, there's.
And ceiling and walls.
Mhm.
Okay, this is your real world now. This is your real world now. Now notice the bombs going off in your head again and people dying again. That is not your real world. Your real world now. And sweetheart, the point of this is if you cannot be grateful for the gift of life that you have right now, when you look at what you're thinking and believing, you're living in a war zone. But that's imagination. The truth is, you are not. Now, you want peace for those people. In your mind's eye, those people dying, you want peace and life for them, but you're not giving it to yourself. And that's my point. And if you can't give you that, how can you expect them to give them that? It begins with you, and I'm serious. This is about the opposite of denial. In your life, where are you the most effective? When you are worried or when you are clear and present and sure?
Of course, when I'm present and sure, and doing my best.
Yeah. Yeah. When it's the ego says, don't stop worrying. It's not responsible. Which is to say, your pain and suffering is responsible. That's being responsible. For you to worry is responsible. There's another way. We watched that with Tatiana today. There's another way. And sweetheart, to write fill in a judge your neighbor worksheet with your fears in Ukraine, just to do a worksheet on war, on that war in Ukraine, in your own way with your own fears, just the way we watched Tatiana do it. And then to sit in these 4 questions and turnarounds. It's a meditative process. It takes stillness. But if I can find some peace and Tatiana can find some peace, that's a life worth living. And we make, as we learn from Tatiana, the decisions we make when we're sitting with ourselves and other human beings, that's a life worth living. Now, I am someone who stays in touch with the news and the war. Why? Because I care. And I'm awake to my world, the world inside of me. The war is in me. Meaning, when I'm listening to the news and interviews of people living through it, I am so connected. I am so connected. That's the absent of fearful. But I'm so connected because in that kind of connection, amazing gifts come to my mind, realizations. It's responsible. I don't hide from anything. It's just that, I'll say this, I know the difference between the past, future running in my head and reality. And reality is always kinder than what we're thinking and believing about it. But honey, if you want them to live life, there is one life you can live, and that is your own. And if you want them to be at peace and fearless, there is one person you can give this to, and it is you. And as you give you that, the people around you change. This work found me, and my children's life changed. My grandchildren's life changed. And I have never said, you want to do the work? One time. But I am free. I'm free. And that matters. To me, you as a fearless, loving, caring human being is to meet what we all want. And you're the possibility. But if you can't do it, how can you expect us to, or world leaders to? You're it. Thank you, precious, precious, precious.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. So thank you for the invitation to join you today, and it's certainly been a privilege, and I love that we were all able to sit together and contemplate another way.
Katie, thank you so much for this gentle way, how you just guided us from to all of our fears and filled this space of like pain with so much love. And I just see comments, everybody's saying that they're crying, that they felt in a physical body, that like love inside, and it's a beautiful transformation what you created for all of us. Thank you so much on behalf of the whole team, on behalf of our women of peace, who really just like writing now, like every second they write thank you, that finally they felt not just from the mind, but embodied the experience of importance to create peace in your own heart, in your family, with your close ones, and to really not just talk about peace, but create it in your own life. Yes. Thank you so much for this precious gift. And Olga, thank you
welcome
for this meeting.
Just Katie, thank you so much.
Thank you, angels. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. И благодарю всех, кто были с нами. Благодарю за это пространство. Благодарю прекрасных девушек, Ольгу, Татьяну, которые открыли сегодня свои сердца, позволили нам прожить через вот эти сомнения, переживания, позволили соприкоснуться со своим собственным сердцем, пойти туда, куда мы боялись пойти, не хотели, сопротивлялись. И когда мы сделали этот смелый шаг, то увидели, как много там любви, и даже самый ярый противник вдруг становится твоим проводником в это пространство свободы, где ты можешь с предвкушением, как мы сейчас увидели на примере Татьяны, с предвкушением ждать новой встречи с тем, что раньше вызывало в тебе столько сопротивления, чтобы увидеть, что ты уже свободна от того, что так сильно тебя держало в тисках несогласия. Благодарю вас, дорогие. Олечка, низкий тебе поклон. Благодарю всех вас.
Всем огромный низкий поклон.
Благодарю, Олечка, благодарю всех вас. Благодарю сердечно.